Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching the Arkansas Gun Guy. Today I want to talk about polymer frame hammer fired pistols because I am a massive fan of metal frame hammer fired pistols, yet every single day I carry a polymer frame striker fired pistol only because it's so lightweight and so small and thin. But somewhere in the happy middle there between the metal frame hammer fired and the polymer frame, there is a segment that exists that not a lot of people talk about. But the people that do talk about it are very passionate about polymer frame hammer-fired guns. I did a video earlier in my YouTube career here, I guess, where I compared the P30 to the PX4. But since then, I've added a couple of other polymer frame guns with hammers, and I thought I would just share my thoughts. But as always, would love to hear from you guys. What are your favorite polymer frame hammer-fired guns? And today I'm going to talk about the CZ series, P07 and P09, the Beretta PX4 series, Grand Power's K100 and various others, and then H&K's P30. Now, I'll start with the H&K because people who are big fans of H&K know that the ultimate OG polymer frame hammer-fired gun, the granddaddy of all, maybe still the best of all, the one that's unchanged for the past 30 years, is going to be the USP series, which comes in large frame, carry size, multiple calibers. They also offer a P2000 as a compact gun that is also a very good polymer frame hammer-fired gun. But I'm choosing the P30 because it matches up well with the other guns in this segment that have a few more features than the USP, whether it's being the fact that most are somewhat ambidextrous or they all have somewhat customizable grip panels. So for this study, I chose the P30. H&K fans, I know the greatest gun of all time is the USP, so please don't yell at me. I just chose the P30 for this one. And while I'm on the P30, it does come in multiple sizes. This is more the full-size version of the P30L. They also make a P30 standard, which is the same grip size here, but a somewhat shorter barrel. And they also make a P30 SK subcompact that has a much shorter grip here, holds only, I think, 12 rounds versus 17, and a shorter barrel. So it comes in subcompact, carry size, and full size. Grand Power makes a slew of polymer frame hammer-fired pistols. This is just the base model K100. They've made multiple other models based off of this type design in more calibers than I can count. They make them in calibers I've never even heard of and are still mass-produced in Slovakia today. So a very interesting gun, a very interesting brand that not a lot of people know about. The Beretta PX4, the ugly duckling of the family, some people would say, this is the compact carry version. There's also a full-size version with a slightly longer grip and a slightly longer barrel, but I have the compact version here just for variety. And finally, the CZ P07 I have shown here. This is a smaller version of the full-size P09, and these are somewhat variations of CZ's original CZ75 with the inverted rail system, but this is the carry version. There's a full-size version too, and there's CZ actually just launched new versions with optics cuts, and it's actually rebranded the CZ P09, I forget the word all of a sudden, with an optics cut on there. So a little confusing if you go to the website. Nocturne, the CZ P09C Nocturne, which is essentially a P07 with some different texturing here, a few other upgrades, and an optics cut, which this one didn't have. So those are the ones I have on the table here. Again, we'd love to hear which ones you like the most. I'll actually start with the CZ since I just talked about it. The reason I picked up the CZ P07, I saw a ton of videos on the Honest Outlaws channel where this is his favorite gun, and he shot this gun more than I'll ever shoot anything in my entire life, and I believe this is the one that he chooses as his favorite because it's indestructible and he's just worn it out. And I do love to try and carry a hammer-fired gun from time to time, and the reason I feel safer with these is because you can put your thumb on the hammer as you holster it and no chance of shooting your junk off, right? But again, this is a fantastic gun, and I shoot the CZ75 platform probably better with metal frame, of course, better than most guns I have. So I want to see how the CZ P07 shot for me with this inverted rail system. All these guns have been safety checked, but the CZ P07 has CZ's legendary inverted rail system where the rail rides inside of the frame. Now, again, this channel is about me learning about guns, and early on I commented that this gave it a very low bore axis. Doesn't really have a low bore axis as much as it has less slide mass coming back, and it's easy to stay on target. So this is a gun that I particularly shoot pretty darn good. Much like I shoot the metal frame version even better. So, but it's a gun that I carry quite often and I am accurate with, and it's also been very reliable for me. Again, listening to the Honest Outlaws videos, he swears by this thing like 100% reliability over tens of thousands of rounds. So a pretty legendary gun from CZ that I'm a big fan of. It does come with a couple of cool features. It has the option for a decocker or a safety. This is the Omega trigger system in these. I left the decocker on there so you can just drop it like this. This apparently easily switches out to a safety. I just haven't tried to tackle that because I'm a decocker kind of guy. So that's the CZ P07, very good gun. I'll just kind of go in order here and talk about this Beretta PX4 Storm. Again, this is the compact carry version. There is a more full-size version. This is the most expensive gun on the table for me because I went directly to Langdon Tactical and paid quite a bit of money for lots of fancy treatments inside. It has an MP3 coating. It's got different treatments on here. It's got different sights. But most importantly, it's got this ridiculous trigger. Again, all these have been safety checked, but the trigger on this gun from Langdon Tactical is feather light on the double action pull, and then the reset is ridiculous. Better than the striker fire gun that I have, and a gun that I shoot probably as good as almost anything, especially in the full-size configuration. The most iconic thing about these, other than the fact that some people say they're ugly, and they were the movie gun in Inception, one of the greatest movies of all time, but it's the fact they have this rotating barrel. Instead of the Browning tilting action like you saw in the CZ75, the barrel actually rotates. I'll switch hands. You can see the barrel stays in a lined up position the entire time, but rotates to dissipate energy. So very good feature on that. And again, this as well as the CZ and the others have interchangeable back straps to make them somewhat customizable in your hand. So big fan of the Beretta PX4 Storm. I do shoot the full size a little better, but this is a good gun to carry. It's probably the fattest of the group too, so it is a pretty chunky gun. Many people also comment they don't like the slick texture on here. Most of the other guns you'll see have texturing on the sides. Many people use the Talon grip tape on these as well. For me, I've had no issue controlling it, and it recoils very nicely in your hand. Also the easiest gun to take down in the world. Just pull these tabs down, and it pops right off. I say that, now watch it not happen. Choose two hands. No, I just did it, darn it. Edit. Okay, so it pops right off like that. It's easier than I just made it, I promise. So great gun, one of my favorites. Now I mentioned this is the easiest gun to disassemble of any gun that I own. This is the hardest gun to disassemble of any gun that I own, and that is the Grand Power K100. Again, these are made in Slovakia, and I think this is one of the first pistols that people from Grand Power produced, and they're made for militaries all over the world. And again, it has the interchangeable back straps here. It also has the Beretta's the PX4 Storm's rotating barrel system. So you can see here that the barrel rotates just like that to dissipate energy. So very unique engineering behind both of these guns, which I think is very, very cool. These all have cocking serrations front and rear to make it easy to cock if you need to. This one only comes with a safety, does not come with a decocker. This one is also 100% ambidextrous. You'll see that the CZ was only for right-handers as well as the Beretta, mostly right-hand friendly. But the Grand Power is 100% ambi, both with the safety on both sides, as well as the slide stop / slide catch on both sides. And the mag release is not reversible, it is 100% ambi. Button actuates this way and this way to release the slide, or release the magazine. So very cool feature. Now this is the least expensive gun on the table. I mentioned the Beretta is the most expensive. You could probably buy 3 of these or more for what I paid for the one Beretta from Langdon Tactical. And I love the trigger on the PX4. However, check out the trigger on this bone stock Grand Power K100. It is ridiculous. Again, the double action pull is heavier than the Langdon. It's a pretty heavy pull, but once you cycle the slide, watch this reset. It's as short as the Beretta, and you're back at the wall instantly with an amazing click. So again, short reset, and you're right back at the wall. So this trigger, to me, is just as good as the Beretta PX4 Storm at 1/3 of the cost of the Beretta. Now, I don't know, I've not had a ton of time with this Grand Power. There are videos out there. gbgunsdepot.com that swears by these and have been crazy reliable. I just don't have thousands of rounds through it yet, but I think this does offer probably the best value on the table because it comes with a ton of features as well. So great gun there. And the last gun I'll come to is actually the first gun I ever bought. I was looking for a SIG 226 and couldn't find it, so I went with the H&K P30 and learned all about H&Ks then. And the P30, again, is a striker, a hammer-fired polymer gun, descendant of the legendary USP, and probably one of the most reliable guns made on the planet today. I don't torture test these, but I know people that do, and this is probably the most reliable gun. I mean, they're all reliable, but probably the most reliable of any of the guns I have on the table here. I imagine that my kids' will have this gun hundreds of years down the road, so I think this gun should last a very long time. Much like the Grand Power, it's 100% ambi, which makes me very happy. Has H&K's awesome paddle release here to drop the magazine out. Has ambi safety on both sides here. Has decocker in the back, which I'm calling ambi. You can access it easily with your right thumb or your left thumb. So I go with all ambi on the H&K. A gun that I think I like to trigger the least on this gun of all. Again, it has a better double action pull than the Grand Power, but it's still a pretty heavy pull. And the reset is nothing to write home about. It's long, and then there's take up, and then there's a break. So not a super touchy trigger like these, but again, this gun was designed as a duty pistol, a gun that's going to have a trigger for a safety. These guns, you could easily have an accidental discharge just by touching the trigger too light. So as a duty gun or a carry gun, this may be on the light side of safe. This gun is 100% absolutely safest. It's a gun that I shot the worst of all of these until I practiced the most with it. I spent more time dry firing this guy with a laser cartridge than any gun because I really struggled to be accurate with that trigger. And it's a me issue, not a gun issue, because now, after lots of practice, it is bone accurate as any of the firearms here. Has wonderful sights on there, good long sight radius, an easy to see sight picture. So again, this is maybe, it's hard to pick a favorite, but of all the guns on here, I think I like shooting the PX4 the best. But as far as longevity, and if you could only have one gun, it's going to be hard for me to go against the H&K because it's just a fantastic gun with amazing pedigree and just, again, should last forever. So those are 4 of my favorite hammer-fired polymer frame pistols. Would love to hear from you guys. What do you think about polymer frame hammer-fired guns? And what do you like? As always, thanks so much for watching. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. Thanks.